It's the 14th of February and this is my upload from Tralee County, Kerry, regarding the ongoing issue of human rights violations and hate crime that's being ignored. As I've said, since I gave birth and since I got married, basically I've been harassed from my homes, and I've experienced medical incompetence, I've suffered physical ailments, I've experienced intrusions from professionals that I have not engaged with nor am I a patient of, and as well as that I've experienced defamation of my character and reputation. As I've mentioned in my previous uploads, I've sought legal aid that I'm entitled to due to being an unemployed individual or citizen, and my legal rights have been completely ignored. My legal entitlements have been ignored also, and yet I am experiencing on a day-to-day basis defamation, violations of privacy and further harassment from my accommodation. As I've said, there's been theft of my belongings in each of the dwellings that I've been in since I gave birth and got married. Authorities have been made aware of this by means of a victim impact statement. I've not received acknowledgement with regards to the Ombudsman and establishments and agencies that haven't actually acknowledged how serious an issue this is. Now, I've been discussing this matter with the relevant agencies and on these uploads since 2018. Recently I saw a news feed regarding hate crime that was broadcasted on national TV, and yet the circumstances that have presented themselves to me have not been addressed or acknowledged at all. So, as I've said, there's individuals trying to gain acclaim, notoriety, trying to share their information or their choice of information, and they're, sharing their version of events that might not always be acknowledged as the reality of circumstances. So basically, for any individual that's been in recovery, to be experiencing this kind of insanity is absolutely horrendous, and it's just so upsetting to think that people will go to such extents and such costs to mislead and deceive people of the reality of a situation. Now, as I've said, since 2006 I've been working as a light worker, and I've been in recovery, and I've done the whole shebang, and my body has been violated, not only once but twice. The first incident, as I said, I had recovered from. The second incident and most recent incident has involved a more serious aspect of this vendetta, and the consequences to that are a little bit more serious. Being a spiritual light worker isn't easy, forgiveness isn't easy, and recovery isn't easy. And when it comes to a spiritual light body, and with what a spiritual light body contains, and the damage of a body and bodily integrity violations, and what involves the issue of spiritual gifts and blessings, etc., and light, all that have been destroyed in this vendetta against me, that has involved more serious issues regarding children's rights and women's rights, medical rights and legal rights, etc. Now, as I've said, there have been many versions of people's truths conveyed, and the unfortunate thing about this is that truth and justice is not being respected. And as a spiritual light worker whose gifts have been damaged and pillaged and looted, that's not only very feckless and reckless of the culprits, but it's a little bit careless of them also with regard to the bigger picture regarding evolution and spiritual progress, which was my purpose and still is, even regardless of the injustice I'm experiencing. The other aspect of this is the mental health issues of people that are violating the privacy of individuals they have no reason to be involved with. I find it interesting that there are people claiming to know so much and then saying they don't know anything at all. People claiming to be an authority about a circumstance that they don't have the actual particular knowledge about at all. What I'm really getting at is how people have disrespected my reputation and good name and character. There have been people that weren't involved in my spiritual journey. There weren't people involved in my role as a mother, and yet they have caused devastating damage and very serious exploitation, I might add as well. Now, I've also discussed in these uploads about the unethical means of attaining information, and that has been another matter with regards to queries and concerns I have regarding their concept of progress. The progress that I find to be quite unethical and not very democratic and not very, respectful is another huge violation of privacy. And it's real childhood playground tactics, as I've mentioned, the issues that have been caused for a professional, an educator, a person that has helped people along the way, that has been intentionally disrespected due to people's agendas, self-serving agendas, and their false messages in the media and their false messages with their false claims that haven't been substantiated and that aren't being proven, but are quite nonsensical, insulting, and basically shameful in any civil society. And as Europe is preoccupied with civil society concepts, I'm very concerned about how this issue of injustice, discrimination and inequality with regards to women's rights, children's rights and human rights is all being ignored. As regards the issue of marital rights, I don't know if there's many women out there that would ever think of just getting married for the fun of it, to be abandoned and endangered and disrespected and defamed. The idea of getting married is to, have positive intentions for a positive future. And when it comes to the role of the family being disrespected, and when it comes to obligations, duties and responsibilities involved in any partnership being disrespected, I think that kind of raises a very serious issue for not just the individuals involved, but also the people imposing upon a family unit, and those also facilitating the unforgivable. It's easy just to ignore matters when you just find it inconvenient to address how serious matters have been in my circumstances. But as a teacher, I find it absolutely horrendous that children's rights are not being respected in this matter either. And I also find it absolutely horrendous as a peace campaigner that human rights are not being prioritised over people's ill-serving agendas. So as I've said, I have sought legal advice and I've sought legal assistance that has been interfered with. As I've also said, I've been harassed from my marital home, my family home, and I'm currently in public accommodation, not receiving spousal support, suffering from medical incompetence, not receiving what I'm due, and basically it's come to the stage where this entire situation is absolutely grotesque. It's absolutely shameful, and it's a bad reflection on society. It's also a very poor reflection on the people that have to resort to these kind of measures to get what they want. Usually when anyone is getting anything, they work for it. And as a person that worked for what I achieved, and as a person that has had many different roles in different careers, I find it absolutely insulting that at even one stage it was claimed that I had an intellectual disability. It was also claimed that I didn't work in the professions that I am actually qualified in, and that my career choices weren't exactly favourable or savoury. These are the lies that I've been confronted with, and these lies are continuous. For this to be happening in 2020, and for this to be happening in a democracy, is absolutely shocking. No supports, no services, no advocacy, no medical care. My medical treatment that I needed for my ailments has not been provided. But I have been intruded upon, I have been imposed upon, and I've been harassed. And that to happen to any woman in this day and age is a very sad sign of the times, as I keep saying. Now, as I've said, I've also represented this country abroad in Europe, and I've gone further afield representing this country. As a Gashga Award recipient, as a Duke of Edinburgh Award recipient, to be so seriously mistreated brings to question the principles, the morals and the ethics and standards of those in society that have to resort to this kind of dangerous defamation of my character. That isn't progressive, and it's not very tactical either to have changed their lies so often throughout this vendetta as they have. And as regards the first incident of assault that I experienced over 10 years ago, that I had resolved and had closed the chapter on, but has yet again now become an issue due to the very serious matters that have been caused for me. My main concern would be for those in women's aid groups, the Me Too movement, and other women's rights initiatives. So this is all, as you might think, quite repetitive, but this is a day-to-day documentary, and there's a huge deceptive lie and falsehood being relayed, and there are very serious human rights being violated. Now, as regards the issue of financial abuse, the matter of bodily integrity violations that I've experienced, that people have exploited and capitalised on, as well as my personal work and my research from 2006 that people have also exploited and also capitalised on, is another serious matter, other than the fact that there have been damages done to my body that haven't been treated and that haven't been, rectified at all. So this situation for authorities, as I keep addressing, and the politicians, and this idea of forming a new government in a new Ireland is all quite ambitious and, fair play. But when people can't even get down to the basics of what is actually required for any successful kind of formation of any future Ireland, I'm just concerned, what are they building the premises of this new country or new Ireland idea on? Because human rights as a European should be prioritised for every individual, and concerning the matters, and with concern to the matters regarding marital rights, medical rights, legal rights, all being completely disrespected. How long more are they going to perpetuate a lie? How much longer are they going to keep changing the goalposts, changing their information, changing their stories? Because that is what has been happening in this situation, and that with regard to spiritual violations more than anything else that I've also been experiencing, and the damage that has happened to my body as a consequence is something that I don't know if people in authority are realising the consequences of. To say that it's a sad sign of the times is an understatement, but the idea and concept of land of saints and scholars, I wonder in 2020, because saints and scholars don't behave with such disrespect towards any human being, whether high up or low down, and that this is happening just proves the mentality of begrudgery that exists still to this day in a modern society. And as a person, professional, mother, deserted wife, an invalid as such, really, considering the damages that were done to my body, to have to be confronted with this endangerment in society that isn't being acknowledged and being intentionally ignored, and the spiritual aspects of this matter also that are being completely disregarded, just beggars belief as to how progressed and evolved the culprits and all involved really actually are about this matter. So with regard to attaining information, as I said, there's been my personal information that has been violated, and I find that quite intrusive. I find that quite disrespectful, and I also find the means by which such is done to be quite unethical. And for there to be no consultation whatsoever about these matters and no acknowledgement about these matters just makes me wonder about other people's concept of propriety. And it's not pleasant to have to share this rant every day online as an upload and as, you know, an explanation of how serious the situation is. But I don't like being stolen from. I don't like my wealth being stolen from me. I don't like my health being stolen from me. I don't like people violating my spiritual purpose. I don't like people stealing my career and professional objectives from me either. And I don't like people trespassing onto property where they don't belong. And I don't like not being consulted about matters that I need to be consulted about and informed about. But you see, what is happening in this circumstance is quite brazen and quite outrageous and quite shameless. And all standards of propriety seem to be gone out the window. So to say that I'm annoyed is an understatement, but in my victim impact statement, it's quite clear in black and white how serious a situation has been caused for an innocent mother, a peace campaigner and a humanitarian and a teacher and a deserted wife, simply because of other people's ill-serving agendas that are just only juvenile and basically the playground tactics by adult individuals. It makes me wonder, do they have any concept of how difficult it is for anyone to progress on a spiritual journey, how difficult it is to achieve attainment, spiritual attainment, and how precious and important spiritual gifts, light and blessings actually are, and what actually happens when people violate and misuse, abuse and misacclaim and misaccredit all of the achievements of another person. So with all the damage that has been done, I'm a little bit annoyed, and justifiably so, because for someone that has been working very hard, and in particularly since 2003 and more so again from 2006 to 2007, in ways that I had never anticipated working before, which was voluntary and which contributed extremely positively to other people's livelihoods as well, just shows the lack of respect in society. So the people involved obviously don't know the cost of the damages they've done that will never be able to be repaid. And as for what I am due from amends from 2005, I hope the politicians understand my stance about how serious it is as a victim and as a survivor and as a deserted wife. And I hope, in particular, the DCYA, the women's initiatives and all the groups working for children's rights and women's rights and human rights, I really hope they understand the predicament that's been caused and what is involved and what has been involved and what will be involved for the wrongdoings against an individual that was assaulted unjustifiably by a group of people with no conscience or morals. So that's the lay of the land in Tralee, County Kerry, Ireland, the 14th of February, when people collectively decide to destroy an innocent person simply because of their own agendas. And when amends are due, they say it's either direct or indirect, but in certain circumstances there's no beating around the bush. It's basically a case here in this situation of amends since 2005 being completely avoided. So this situation is absolutely disgraceful. Medical incompetence is absolutely shameful for any woman to be experiencing. When children's health is being neglected intentionally, and when women's health is being intentionally disrespected also, it just raises very serious issues. So my victim impact statement has been sent to the relevant agencies. The Ombudsman have also heard from me with regard to the offences that I've experienced, and whoever is preventing this from being rectified, would you mind considering the impact for your own families and your own futures, and how serious a problem you have caused with the violations that you have perpetrated and the lies that you have told and the wealth that you have stolen. So that's my upload for today, the 14th of February. This is Emer Griffin McElligott sharing as a victim and survivor, of hate crime that certain media forums aren't prepared to discuss on behalf of the culprits broadcasting deceptive and false information in their agenda to serve their own ill-gotten gains.